All right, good morning and welcome in to Grown Folks Live. I am super pumped to be with you this morning, and as you can see, a very scary looking guy as I switched over there, smiling with a creepy smile. Mr. Poohty T, the myth, the man, the legend, he is back. You've been gallivanting all around the world this summer, man. Yeah, vacations are a ton of fun, but there's just something about coming home and sleeping in your own bed, and yeah, it's just nothing that matches being able to sleep under your own covers and your own with your own pillow. Well, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you had a good time. Madden season is upon us now. I know that you're not a super Madden fan anymore. You have left us for PUBG, but Madden ratings popped out, and that's always an exciting time, right? You get the beta, which this year felt like it was a little longer than normal. You get the beta, start to get kind of the itch again, and they start dropping little Madden ratings. You start to see what your team could look like, and it just kind of wakes everybody up from the hibernation of the summertime. You're a Philadelphia Eagles fan. You check out any Eagles ratings? Well, trust me, they had a great draft. Your team is going to be just fine. They should be one of the easier teams to be able to use in Madden 24. When you were running the NBC and doing the Madden thing, when was that moment for you where you're like, all right, it's time to get back in the grind. It's time to wake everybody up here. It's time to get going. Hold on a second, Pooty T. They're saying they can't hear you. Well, that sucks. Where y'all been? You gotta tell us you can't hear Pooty T. I think we got Pooty T again. Start over again, like about the team draft. Tell us where you did that.
So what we do is if you played all season with us, and you stuck it out during the summer, you got to choose if you wanted to keep your current team or if you wanted to put in an open team pool. If you did that, you went in the pool with all the new people who joined the league and all the people who didn't make it all year who came back. And so we would have an open team pool. I would put all the names in a random generator to generate a draft order, basically. And I would live stream that so people would see this is happening in real time. You can sit there and watch when your name comes up of where you pick in the order. So of course, if you got the top pick, you got to pick of all the open teams that were open. So we would kind of do that to kind of generate people's interest and get people back to motivated into getting ready for the new Madden coming out, and and then of course when it comes out, we would run maybe a tournament or two while we wait for the regular season roster to come out before we started up. So we would do things like that and kind of test out settings in a test league, if you will, to kind of pass the time until they got that roster out. So those are the kind of things that we used to do over there to kind of get people back into it, to get people revved up. Because, some people will drop out come May. That's understandable. You get busy in the summer, life happens and there's lots of things going on, and trying to sit down and set up and agree on a time with someone else who has a busy schedule too is not necessarily something people really want to do in May, June. So it's understandable, but it was always fun to kind of see people tossing their teams in, wanting to just pick a random team and, go with it. So it was fun.
We got Kevin, Denbrew, JJ. See you guys in chat. Thanks for hanging out with us. So I was hoping that I won that $1 billion last night so I could just do this in my church full time and didn't have to work a real job. But here's what happened. Poohty T and I are talking while the stream is setting up and you guys are logging in. And so I have to mute him and you mute me so that you guys don't hear us conversating as we're waiting to log up. And then when we fired up, Nate forgot to actually unmute Poohty T because I could hear him. Y'all just couldn't hear him. So he's unmuted now. We are ready to go. Poohty, one of the big things that they are touting for the CFM this year is commissioner control abilities. They've added in these new layers that you can really fine-tune regression per age, per position. You have more fine-tuned controls over owner abilities within the CFM. They've just given you more kind of fine-tuned control than what we've had in the past. Now, I come from the PC days. I would argue that was a different game. It was a different universe that we all lived in back then. But it is nice to have these more fine-tuned controls. Two kind of back-to-back questions would be, number one, what would they have to do, give, intrigue you by to get you to come back, get you to check the game out again? And then part two of that would be just people are some of the counter arguments against Madden is it feels exactly the same. And I'm just I don't know that you're going to see these massive leaps in games. We're old school. We've been playing this a long time, bro. I had an Atari. Literally, I am that old. You would see these massive jumps in technology, and I just think that gap is so much smaller now. We're going to talk about that before we get out of here today, but I just don't know that you're going to see those massive leaps like we used to see, whether it be in player movement in any game or graphical. I think you got to the tippy top of it. There's not a whole lot of headroom there. But what would Madden have to do to bring you back? And what do you think just about how a game feels either the same, or are you expecting things to feel dramatically different?
Well, to your point, especially in a game like this that is released year after year, back to back every year it's released. They've got 6-7 months to work on it tops, because they've got to do their planning first. They got to do all their planning first, figure out what they're going to do there, figure out what will and won't work, and then start working on it, and then get it ready to be in a beta form to be able to push out in a couple of months after that. So in that sense, they're limited. And to answer your first question, to bring me back, what it needs is physics-based animation, not animations, but physics-based tackling. The players on the field the whole thing needs to be redone. That's the bottom line. They're not going to do it.
No, they're not.
And that's where they're limited, right? They're building off of this base that they've been building for over a decade. The engine, they switched to Frostbite, but they switched the engine some, but they didn't really switch it in the way that things are coded to make the game perform different. It's all based off of animations, and that's it. There is no physics involved in it. There's lots of games that has physics in their games, and that's what, to me, that's one thing I'm excited to see about Maximum Football I think they actually have a beta coming up later this month on PC. I'm signed up for. Hopefully, I get in. Um, I want to see physics-based football because football is based on physics, from throwing the ball to running, running, cutting, tackling, everything about it. It's based on physics. And if your game is football and it's not based on physics, I struggle with that. I struggle with seeing this dice roll of animations determining outcomes. That was one of the reasons why I walked away from the game. I couldn't stand that anymore. I had enough of it. If I'm playing a game, I press a button. I want it to do what it's supposed to do. I don't want it to roll a dice and say, "Oh, I know you pressed that button. I know you saw that ball going over top of your defender's head, and I know he put him in perfect position to intercept it, but nah, he's just gonna stand there and watch it so the guy can catch it and run for a touchdown." That just drove me nuts. So to me, giving user total control, but that has to be based on a physics-based game, not animation dice rolls. So to me, that's what I would want in it.
Yeah, I'm excited about Maxim too. I do think we're years away from, right, because they're not a AAA company. I think it is good though. Like, I like what I'm seeing from it. I hope they continue to progress. I hope they find the funding because we need competition. Right. You and I were talking beforehand about agenda. Let's talk 2K, but there hasn't been any updates, and that just makes me think like they're going to punt that game again, and it won't surprise me if they cancel it. Like, I don't understand. Nope. I'm not in that world. I don't understand what's happening here, but I think 2K, not to chase a rabbit, but I think 2K's issue is they got themselves into a bit of a bind when they couldn't create a simulation game. And so some of these, they're struggling with trying to figure out what they're going to do and how do they make that you can't make the old blitz games anymore. The NFL's never going to let that happen. And so I think that's a big thing that I talk about all the time that people just want to ignore, or maybe they're just not hearing of. The NFL limits EA in so many ways. And even if a 2K, anyone who's going to have that license is going to be limited for a variety of reasons. They're going to be pushed for timelines. They're going to have a small time to work on the game. They're going to be limited on what they could do, and everything's going to have to pass through the NFL's hands. That is just who they are. That's the way they're going to operate, and that really hinders companies and developers. I would also say I do think this Madden has done the physics thing better. We're seeing better offensive lineman awareness. We're seeing better tackling. They've added, they're calling them physics-based animations. Again, I'm not in that world, and so I would love to interview like a developer and understand animations, physics, the combination of both, because I've even heard with Maxim, it's not a strictly there's still animation still plays a role, and it's this combination of physics numbers combined with it's way above my head, way above my pay grade, and so I'd love to hear that. But I think that Madden is doing it better this year. It is our only option, and so I am excited about Maxim. I think it has a lot of just competitive opportunities, and they're just never going to hold the license, and that's going to be a trade-off. That's what happened to 2K. They made this great game, not with the license. People sooner or later tap out. It is what we're going to transition to now, PUBG. It's the issue we have with PUBG. Some of us can suck it up with the graphics. Most people can't handle it. They're just like, this is terrible. And I get frustrated with the movement of the game. I know a lot of people don't, but like, I shouldn't struggle jumping through a window. I shouldn't struggle opening a door and walking through a door frame. Like, that shouldn't be a thing, but it is. Let's talk PUBG. PUBG is like neck and neck right there with our Madden groups. Now, Madden feels like this year, and we'll talk about the fundraiser before we get to the end, but it feels like this year the NBC is starting to figure out if they're coming back or not. The TFL hasn't figured out if they're coming back or not. Our friends in the ATG, I never really hear from, so I have no clue what they're doing. The Deuce is trying to get rolling. So the OMFL really is the only, like, we're there, we're going, we're We're 22 years old, and we're gonna keep rocking and rolling. So PUBG and the OMFL are the two flagship programs we have here, and you've been working on a new little project that I just wanted to give you a chance to tell people about what you're thinking, what it's gonna look like, and kind of what are the hopes and dreams for it.
Oh, okay. Well, so this originally started a couple of years ago with this idea that I had. Before we had a system that Ray had coded for us that was giving a point system based on how many kills and assists you got each day, and that totaled up for the month. And then we had like a winner for the month or whatever. But that sort of seemed to generate more of an attitude of who's the best. That's not really what that's not what a community is about. It's not about who's the best. It's about coming together from different walks of life, different avenues, different skills, and enjoying something together, right? So I kind of I had to rethink all of that because I really didn't like the perception that gave, right? It was more like, well, I'm not the best, so why play? I don't want people having that idea. So I started working on this a couple of years ago. Ray was going to work on it for us because I don't have the skill to code. But basically, I ask everyone to provide a picture of their character in game because you can't actually pull that from the PUBG API, which I've looked at. So since you can't do that, what I wanted to do was get a picture of everyone's character, and then all right, so like on this will relate with Madden, on Daddy Leagues you have like your league leaders for passing, your league leaders for assists, tackling and all that. I kind of want to do something similar to that. Are you still there?
Yeah.
My computer. Okay. I kind of want to do something similar to that, but what it's going to be is basically it'll keep a tally of everyone who's in the clan, right? And the system that I had a guy reach out to me recently. I'm in the PUBG API Discord, so I reached out there and seen if anyone there was willing to code this for me. This guy reached out to me, said he would. So he's going to code this, and basically it'll give me a management system, so I can add or remove players' names from the clan list. And I can also he's going to add a section where I can add their photos with their names. So anytime they get shown on this list, it should have a photo of their character alongside their name. Basically, the idea was it would have stuff like weekly, monthly, and yearly leader for something.
Yeah.
For kills, for revives, for grenade kills, for longest kill, stuff like that. Just different stats that I can think that you can pull from the API. And also, it would have individual things like that. For the week, it would say, Kevin had the most kills, or Steve had the most wins. And it would list how many they had for the week, and for the month, and for the year. And it would also keep like a statistical record of the highest one of each category. So you would have that like a separate page. Last year, I coded in HTML a website for our clan, just individual code for it. And when you talked about removing the site, I was like, well, I can put this on to a different website, no problem. I've already got the code for it. I've got it saved. There will be some things I'll have to change and add because I'm going to add these stats pages once this guy gets his stuff done. He said he hopes to get it done in the next few months. So hopefully by the end of the year, we'll see this. I'm hoping. I've still got to go back and build the website on an actual website with this code. It'll have a stats page. It'll keep up with those things. It'll keep up with the records of who holds the highest for the week, who holds the highest for the month. But it'll also have a combined clan stat. So it'll tell how many wins the clan got for the year, how many kills the clan got for the year, so on and so forth, things like that. So that's kind of what we're working on. Like I said, it's something that I was trying to do 2 years ago. Ray was going to code it, and then he kind of ghosted on us. So I just don't have the knowledge code-wise yet to be able to do all that. So I was kind of stuck. And some people was like, well, you were going to do this and you didn't do it. Well, that's because I can't code. And
Yeah.
the guy I was counting on doing it kind of left. So I was kind of stuck. But it is something that I have continued to pursue. So hopefully we'll see something by the end of the year.
Yeah, and our buddies at League Crawler, they have a brand new owner in Knives Out, and great guy. Yeah, he's got a big vision for kind of taking League Crawler and kind of growing it out into this web network of different type of communities. He's got even like a possible streaming platform he's thinking about doing. Like, yeah, he's got some big dreams. And so he was talking to me about combining our two communities and kind of hosting kind of everything there. And I had those conversations with Matt. Me and you talked through it when League Crawler was kind of up for sale or whatever. I was lucky enough to be even considered to be somebody that would take over League Crawler. And it just didn't make sense for us at the time. Yeah, I've got 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is, invested here into GrownFolks. Maybe it has.
Your mic went out.
It's because I talk with my hands and I keep bumping this is a button right here that mutes things. And so when I talk with my hands, I bump it. I do it all the time. I got to stop talking with my hands. But it just didn't make sense for us. We've got 5 or 6 years invested here into GrownFolks. And so I don't know that it makes sense for us to do this again, but there might be an opportunity to host this page, this PUBG thing through League Crawler, and have access. Again, we got rid of the website and all of the large fees that kind of came with running it, not because I didn't enjoy it, but literally last year, it was either Poohty once a month posting something for our special events for PUBG or me posting. That was it. And then the OMFL using the forums and the Deuce using the forums. No one else was using it. And so we were spending, a lot of money to keep this thing. And I was proud of it. I loved having kind of a website. But the truth is, people just don't go to websites as much anymore. It needs to be an app. It needs to be on the phone. It needs to be quick and easy. And so transitioning to Discord, investing into bots to help us run our Discord. I still need to go put more time in, but I've invested tons of time creating forums. You can now do forums within Discord. And then investing into giveaways and T-shirts and all that kind of stuff is why we're doing the fundraiser. So anyway, I'm excited to see what the PUBG thing is going to become. I did laugh to myself. Poohty and I were talking. It's like I got rid of the website, and then Poohty's like, "Oh, I'm going to build a website." I'm like, what? No, this doesn't make sense. But this is how things go. And I think there may be a way that we can do that through League Crawler, super duper cheap. But this is why we do the fundraiser. It really is so that we can give back to the community. And I will also be transparent. This is no pressure. Like I told Poohty, I hate talking money. I'm blown away by anybody that would give 5 cents here so that we could do things. And It is what it is. But I think because the Madden leagues are struggling with trying to figure out if they're going to come back, we really have had no donations outside the OMFL. I am blessed. I've got some amazing human beings in the OMFL. It has always been a special place. I don't know why I deserve being connected to super special people. But I've got, right now we've had, 4, 5, 6 guys, something like that from the OMFL that have donated in the platinum level. And that's it. JJ gave, again, JJ just pops in chat. JJ's our Evolve friend, and Evolve unfortunately had to take a small step back last year because they're amazing leaders, had just some personal things going on. But JJ's still here, and JJ donated. And then we've had a couple guys in PUBG. Poohty will never say this. I will say it for him. It's going to cost him over $100 to kind of get this program going, get a website going. This is coming out of his pocket. That was his donation, was to get this thing going. And so it takes money to do this stuff, and we want to do giveaways. I want to do T-shirts every 2 weeks. I just want to do things that connect the community. And I think because Madden, we're in the summer months, because Madden is what it is right now, it just feels like there's the OMFL, there's PUBG, all those people stay in their little buckets, no one comes out, and Poohty T and I really have the same vision, and that's why when I get hit by a bus one day, he'll take this thing over and keep it going, but we want to connect the community. So if you have it, thank you. Thank you if you have given, and if you're thinking about it or like, where's this money going? I promise you, I ain't getting rich on it. I ain't buying things with it. I got my own job. Pooty's got his own job. Literally, this money goes into my PayPal that I don't touch personally, sits on the side, and we buy league stuff for it. Things that either go towards the production of these shows, sans computer. I know I talk about a computer all the time. I'm not using y'all's money to buy me a computer. I get my own money, I promise. But T-shirts and trophies, like the OMFL is the biggest donator. I buy a trophy every champion every season, and that money goes towards that. It went to website hosting and designing and the templates and like all that stuff, which is not cheap. So anyway, I always feel the pressure to explain where this money goes. The fundraiser has been lacking, but I told Poohty we're in a recession, money's tight. I'll tell this one story and then I'm moving on, just because it really did touch me. And just there's an owner here. I won't say his name, but there's a dude here that has been part of the OMFL for 4 or 5 years, something like that. And I have literally watched this guy go through an ugly divorce, not have his kids, have to fight to see his children, lose his job, get laid off when COVID and stuff happened, just like penny pinching, doing everything he could to somehow get a PlayStation 5 when we moved over, somehow get Madden every year, working 2 and 3 jobs, working overtime, working terrible hours. And he donated, platinum level just the other day. And I was just like, told him, I sent him a message. I was like, brother, I know how hard it is. Trust me. I gave up my life, moved my family to this city. We didn't have a job. We didn't have a place to live. I went from living in our first home to living in a 900 square foot apartment with 2 teenage boys. Like, I get it. I know what it's like to struggle. I grew up very poor, living in government housing, living on food stamps, single mom. Like, I get it. And I just like that guy, to watch how he's come through all this, and yet, like, didn't have to give, didn't have to donate, and yet donated towards this. Just spoke a lot to the specialness of this community, which is, Poohty T is one of those special humans. JJ, like, even though I've never met you, JJ, never even like seen your face, though I couldn't pick you out of a lineup, like, you've just jumped in. And Trey and Kevin and Denbrew, like, Denbrew, he's my quiet warrior, bro. He doesn't say a whole lot. Poohty T, you'd love Denbrew if you ever got to meet him. Just a hardworking, straightforward, no nonsense dude. And anyway, I'm rambling now just to show some love to this community. And if you want to donate, if you can donate, it is going back towards this community. We will be limited unless, a bunch of donations come in. We just started last week, so we'll see where it goes. Enough about fundraisers. Let's talk about what we've been touching on. And this is like one of your favorite things to talk about. And that is the power of the PS5 and where are all the games? Like, where are they? Where did they go? Where had they disappeared? I am sick of hearing about COVID. I'm sick of hearing COVID is the excuse. And yes, it was an excuse for a long time, but man, where are all the games at? Because I can tell you, you're a PC gamer. You are on Steam, you do, you're mainly console, but you'll dabble in some PC stuff. So you're more connected to PC stuff. I'm only connected through PC through a few streamers that I'll watch during the day or whatever when I'm working. They're pumping out games left and right, man. It feels like every week I'm hearing about a new game, a new beta, a new alpha, 6 days in Fallujah, the finals. Just like, it feels like left and right they're pumping out games. And over here on the console side, it's like, we're playing PUBG that's 7 years old. It's like, really? This is what we're doing still? Where are the games, Poohty T?
I don't know. And, the first year that the PS5 came out, I kind of understood this, but there was a lot of remasters. We're going to remaster these old games. Look, I mentioned earlier, I don't have a ton of knowledge in coding, but I have enough knowledge in coding to know you guys ain't working that hard while you're doing this remastering games. Sorry. And no offense, we don't want to play your remastered games. We want new stuff. We didn't buy new hardware to play an old game that you refreshed. You know, that's kind of like um, I have this old guitar and I'm going to put some fresh paint on it. Wow, who cares? Nobody cares. Okay, we didn't get people didn't go out and buy these more power. You know, we were promised these more powerful consoles, which they are, and for the few games that were made specifically for the console, this generation consoles, those games have shined as far as graphically and as well as holding a high frame rate, which is what this console generation was supposed to be bringing. That's what it promised, right? Closer to a PC, and it is. But I don't really understand why so many of these companies are so afraid to go out on a limb and make something new. I mean, all right, you got Battlefield.
There's got to be a reason.
Right. You've got Battlefield and you've got Call of Duty. They're established shooters. They've been going for a long time. So you get them being remade. Totally understand that. But then there's not really much in the way of new stuff. Like, as far as shooters go, there's that game that's coming out sometime soon called X Defiant. We got the beta for it. Within playing it 10 minutes, I was like, this game is trash. The player movement was horrible. I don't care what settings.
A lot of people do like it, though. I know you didn't like it. A lot of people do like it. It blows my mind. I adjusted the settings all I could. Yeah. Nothing felt comfortable. Nothing felt smooth about it. Everything was clunky about it. And I know it was a beta, but it just didn't feel good. And plus, everything was small maps, and I've outgrown small maps. I don't like small map stuff. You're too limited, and there's only but so much you can do there. There's just not enough freedom in that. But that's one of the only games that's recently come out that's really tried to do something slightly different. One of the things that I think also kills it is normally you hear about games 2 or 3 years before they ever come out, right? Yeah.
Because they want to hype it up. But part of that problem to me is when you do that, a lot of times they get canceled, So in that process, you're waiting, then it gets canceled, and it's like, oh, okay. And on the other hand, you've heard so much about it for so long, you're just like, just let me have the game or don't. Just release it or don't. And then by the time they do release it, it's like you mentioned in a stream recently, it's only a half-done game. Because they know they have the live service, and honestly, I believe that companies decided a long time ago when they saw they could do the live service, because it used to be what they would do is they would put out DLCs every so often, and they were like, well, instead of doing that, let's just give them half the game up front, and then slowly push out the rest of the game to make it last longer.
Yeah.
So it does give the game longevity. It makes it last longer. But you're still getting half-done games when they come out. I don't know one that's not come out in the last 3 years that wasn't full of bugs when it first launched. And to me, it's really made me more hesitant to buy anything at launch. Because you can wait 3-4 weeks, and if the game hasn't been selling well, they'll put it on sale. And they've patched it some by then. I think part of the issue is the gaming industry has gotten caught up in this data. We got to follow all this data of all these other games. So they decide we have to copy these other games in order for us to be successful, because this is a proven thing that works, right? It's a proven thing that makes money. So they end up copying each other so much that there's nothing different. I mean, PUBG is doing it now, where they're trying to copy Call of Duty and Fortnite and Apex, because for some reason they have in their minds that that's going to draw in more players. But
they straight up copied CSGO, and I've never played that game. I've seen it, but that is a straight up copy paste.
Yeah, and the thing of it is, they're losing. PUBG was the most played game on Steam of all time at one point. And I think it may still hold that record of most concurrent players at once. that didn't happen because, I mean, yes, Battle Royale was new at the time, so it was a new thing. Part of their issue, I think, over this time period was after people have been playing it for so long, they didn't introduce a
Yep.
skill-based matchmaking. I honestly believe because the game has such a large learning curve, right? You know, just last year, I think it was, they added the thing where if you're new, you have to play so many games against 90% bots, you know, before you can play with actual more people in a match. And that was their idea of breaking people into it. It's not enough, for one. Two, if they would have done this when they had a bigger player base, they could have had a skill based matchmaking that would put people on the same skill level because you had a large enough pool of players. You could do this and not have long wait times, right? I think that would have saved its longevity, and they could have kept the core of it being a hardcore battle royale. But there's nothing wrong with having different genres of battle royale where you have Fortnite, that's basically for kids. You have Call of Duty, which is an arcade, fast-paced shooter. You know, Apex has its like fantasy twist on it with different superpowers for your characters, which the kind of super people was trying to do with theirs.
Yeah.
And
That game
PUBG
had so
was the
much
hard.
potential.
It did, and then PUBG had the hardcore aspect. But instead of having their own identities, they decided we need to start. And Call of Duty was doing it with Fortnite, and they were all doing it. We have to follow what works for this other group. But to me, that's where I feel like the people at the top of these companies who are answering to shareholders, all they're worried about is the bottom line. So all they want to hear is what's the data say, what's the data prove works, do it. And I think that is limiting the devs who are, I think most of the time you have devs who are naturally creative people, right? They can think outside of the box. They can think of different ways to look at and do things, and they probably want to do that, but they're limited. Just like with, you know, like you were talking about, the guys with Madden are limited by the NFL or what they'll allow. It's the same thing with all these other companies. These people have these ideas. They get shut down in the board meetings because it's not a proven safe thing.
Yeah.
And we got to have proven safe things to make money. And so, you know, and we talked about this recently. You've seen a few streamers have went out and kind of gotten with some coding people to start making different games, you know, and that's just now really starting. So it'll be a few years down the road. But and it seems like I've heard of, like the game, the finals you mentioned, that from my understanding, that was some devs that used to be with Battlefield and a few other shooters. They got together, they left their companies to create their own so that they could use their creative minds to create something totally different. Now, I only played the finals beta once in my laptop. Barely could run it. So it wasn't a great experience, but I got a feel for it, and it's different. It's just a different thing. But that's what you want, because just like with competition for Madden, competition in shooters, it draws out new ideas and new things for people to try. But you've got to have companies that are willing to do that. And I think what we're seeing now, if they break from this status quo that all the big companies have stuck with, we have to copy each other, and the devs have been stifled for long enough, I think they're starting to say, we want to be innovative again, you know. So I do, you know, even though I'm not really on board with Dr. Disrespect's game, I don't like the idea of a vertical extraction game. I don't even like extraction game, period, really that much. But it's something different, right? It's a different twist. And there's another you know, streamer they're working on. It seemed like a couple of streamers got together. I can't remember their names, but yeah. And so they're making their own game, you know. And so I think if I want to see those games excel and succeed, because if they do, I think it will encourage more devs of these larger companies to quit their jobs and go out.
Or the companies themselves would be like, oh crap, these dudes are out there making money. We got to get that piece of the pie, you know?
Right, and that's what happened with with PUBG and Battle Royale. It really kicked off Battle Royale, and then you had Call of Duty come in with it. And you know, as much as I as much as I dislike EA, one of the things I have to say that I really think that they were intelligent on, they didn't announce Apex. There was no leaks, there was no advertising, nothing happened before that game came out, and then they just announced it. It's coming out tomorrow. That was the smartest thing I think that they did. One of the things that I didn't realize at the time that did, there's another shooter called Planet Side 2. It's on the PlayStation 4. It's on PlayStation 5. I've played it some. It's a pretty neat game, but it's a long story. Their devs working on making a battle royale of their own at this time. They were in the final phases of their beta when Apex dropped. They didn't have any idea. They had never heard anything about EA working on Apex. So when Apex dropped and it took off in popularity, everything that they had been working on got forgot.
Yeah.
There was no more interest in what they were doing. No one cared, and all their funding dried up, and they ended up canceling their battle royale. I seen a story about it recently, which is why I was mentioning it. I thought it was interesting because of the way EA dropped Apex without all that year-long, 2-year-long hype about it. It was just boom. Guess what? We've been making this game. You can start playing it tomorrow. To me, that generates more hype than anything because it's so new and you're so interested. More people are, especially when it's free to play like Apex was. I think you generate more interest in your game because people haven't heard anything about it. You just tell what genre it is. Here it is. It's free. You can play it tomorrow. I think that does more than this 2-3 year long process that games have been doing, and you kind of see games kind of going away from that now. E3 used to be huge. They don't do E3 no more.
Yeah.
And yes, that sort of started with COVID, but really a couple of years before COVID, if you think back, it was losing traction. A lot of the games were, they would announce their game 2-3 years out, and then you wouldn't see anything on the game for another year, and I think people kind of were getting burnt out on just seeing hype trailers, and that's all they would see. They didn't really see gameplay. They didn't see games that were almost done. So I really think that system that they were doing for so long has kind of run its course, and so I'm really hoping that these other creators who have stepped away from their companies to work with these streamers, I really hope that they do well, that they can kind of start pushing the envelope, because we're in our third year. I think this is the third year of the PlayStation 5. On average, they've only lasted about 8 years before a new one comes out. So we're getting close to the halfway point of this console. Hardly any games have really pushed the envelope of the console itself.
Yeah.
But to me, this is another area where Sony and Microsoft are failing. They should have been pushing these companies to say, hey, we need you to be putting this stuff out solely for these consoles. It's time to leave the other generation of consoles behind. Sorry, but it is.
Because I don't think Sony thinks like that.
I know they don't, but here's the problem.
I think they want to sell all the fours they can sell still.
Well, it could be, because they probably still have some on the shelf to sell, but the issue becomes, and the foresight that they should have is, if people go most of this console generation and the power is not being utilized correctly, what draw was there for the next console that you say is even more powerful? When people remember this console, they're like, well, yeah, but for the next 3 years, all you're going to do is remaster the games from this system, so why not keep this for 3 years and buy your console at a discount 3 years later? Yeah,
I think you're right. I think also that's just our older, like, we think like that. I think these young kids, who is their main market, they don't care. They don't think like that. They're going to buy the new console no matter what, because it's new and Sony's name's attached to it, or Xbox name's attached to it. Just like say, the NFL or the, NBA or what, like, people are just going to go to games. Like, it's just, it is what it is. I don't know. It's an interesting concept, and hopefully we start to see, there was all of this buzz about 2K creating a game, and NCAA was coming back, and, Maxim Sports was doing their thing. And we started to get all this buzz about new games. and it feels like they have all very grossly under delivered. I can't even think of the
agree.
The latest. I will say we played Warzone the other day. I didn't even know I had it anymore, just because of all the controversy around them. I was just like, whatever. I don't feel like dealing with it. Their new map, though, even though it's a small map, that was fun. That's a fun new map that we played on the other day. But outside of Warzone, Battlefield was a complete flop. Even though I will say that old Battlefield, what was that, 4 or 5 or whatever, with the fire battle royale, so much fun. Like, just give us that game, update it. Give us that update. That's all. And it would be a ton of fun. But everything has been, Warzone came out hot and then they changed it, as EA seems to always do. I can't tell you the last great hot like group battle royale game that wasn't the classic, shooter style. Like, I can't tell you the last great game that we've had. There hasn't been. Everything feels like it's halfway done, halfway finished, and it just they all end up being a flop. So hopefully we turn the corner here and start to see some good games. So that's going to wrap us up today. Madden is coming out. I got a big Madden launch stream already, a couple of days. I'm going to take the Wednesday off and stream all day, and then that Friday I've already taken off. If Poohty T's around, hopefully we can get him to maybe come and hang out and talk a little Madden. I know I'm talking to people like, I'm not going to drop any names. I got some friends on the side that I'm talking to come and help me on a launch stream. We'll do some giveaways, hopefully. It'd be great. The first day I got excited. I was like, holy cow, like, yes, we're going to be able to give away some Madden games and give away this and give away that. But then it just died. Like, it was like one day of fundraisers. But if the fundraiser kicks back up, we'll give away some Madden game codes and we'll give away some t-shirts. And I don't know, we're just going to give away some stuff, have a ton of fun. I appreciate Poohty T making time for me on a Friday after back from vacation. Daughter was hanging out with him, and yet he made some time to come hang out with me. So I appreciate you, Poohty.
Hey man, I appreciate you, and it was fun. I'm glad to be back home, and I would just like to encourage the community. Gaming is something that most of us, I think, do as a way to relax. Most of us have families, so we're not going out and partying, during the week. So we're at home with our families. It's the word community is there for a reason. And you mentioned this earlier. It seems kind of like everyone kind of stays in their bowl. You're either in the Madden league, and you only stay in that bowl, or you're in the PUBG league, a clan, you only stay in that bowl. I just want to encourage everyone in the community. I feel like there's a lot of really good people in the community that a lot of us don't know, because we've never played with other people. And there's some hesitancy to play with someone new. There shouldn't be. Play with other people. Look, I've said this, I've posted this in the chat, and I'll say it time and time again. Madden leagues aren't doing anything right now. If you're in a Madden league and you're bored, come try PUBG. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. We'll be glad to show you the ropes,
Warzone.
Help you
like
out.
PUBG's our biggest group, but there's a little group that plays Warzone.
And the guys who play Warzone, use the chat. Let people know that you're active so that they know, hey, there's some people here to play with. That's the other thing. If you've got these tools and you don't use it, it doesn't do any good. But the whole point of the community is to find other people that you can enjoy these things with. I think we can all agree our world has enough going on as it is that's not pleasant. It's nice to be able to talk to someone else and enjoy something that you can enjoy together and have a good time together, from different walks of life. Me and Nate, we recently got to meet in person, which was awesome. Had a great time hanging out. I feel like I know him just from the years of talking to him, though. And it's a really neat connection that wasn't available for centuries, and now it is. And there's so many people that you can connect with in our community that I think a lot of people miss out on because they're kind of stuck in their little system or their little area, and they're afraid to branch out. So I encourage everyone to branch out if you can. Also, please donate. Can't really give things away if money isn't coming in, because I'm not rich. Nate's not rich.
Unless I win that billion, then I can do
it. So it's kind of like, hey, I have a stalker walking behind me. So
I like how she was covering up her face too.
Yeah, you can't see her. She does.
Is this the Pamela?
Yeah, that
This
wasn't
is
my daughter. That was Pam.
this is the Poohty T wifey Pamela. She's the real boss.
Yep, that's right.
Well, yeah, I'm super pumped. I can't wait. I told Poohty and I gave him a small sneak peek. I'm working on brand new stream things as Poohty checks out his wife's booty there. I seen you, Poohty. It's okay. You're married. You can do that.
That's what I do.
Yeah, she's so stupid. People who don't want to be on camera make me laugh. I'm like, everyone in the real world sees your face, right? And here's your like. You can't hide it from everyone, so you might as well. Pamela's an amazing person. You guys would like Pamela. You'd love Pamela. She's awesome. Also, when I met Poohty, I had to hug his nipples because that's about as far up as I came. He's a very tall individual, but it was a pleasure to meet him and his family. GrownFolks Live. We're gonna try to come to you every Friday. My guy Poohty can't be here every Friday because he's got to work most Fridays, but on the Fridays that he's free, we'll get him to pop in. And maybe from time to time when he's at work, he can come at least be on audio and hang out. But GrownFolks Live, we'll try to come to you every Friday and just talk community, talk gaming news, a little drive in, give you something on a Friday morning. And new stream stuff is coming out. I got sidetracked with Pamela, but I've been working on some new stuff, trying to simplify some things. New computers right around the corner, and that's going to just open up. I'm going to be able to go back to 2K. We'll be able to host many more than just one camera without things freaking out. So that's on the horizon. It's coming. And then OMFL Media Days, it's here. So come check out OMFL Media Days. Even if you're not in the OMFL, you'll get to see some guys that are in our community. The last two that we've done was a ton of fun, so check them out. We'll be back tomorrow morning with OMFL Media Days, and then Madden stream right around the corner, so I can't wait. Lots of good things. Poohty T, enjoy your Friday. Tell Miss Pamela I said hello. Guys, enjoy your Fridays. Be safe out there. It's hot, so stay cool. Don't get out of that heat, man. It's like 117 today, so it's no joke out there. I just want to see Poohty stare awkwardly at the camera with that smile. What a beautiful smile. I wish I had a smile like that. All right, fellas, we'll see you. Love you. Peace.